Hey, how's it going, world? This is Derek, and this is my podcast, Awake Carolina. And I'm going to start doing weekly posts, weekly videos every 2 to 3 days with updates about the world, global politics, conspiracy theories that aren't conspiracy theories, just to keep people informed. I think it's a better way to do it through video, face to face contact versus me like typing out things. And it also saves me time too. Um, and I want to make it more personal, I guess, and include you guys in the conversation. Um, to show like I'm not crazy or I'm not mad or I'm not like loony. I'm completely sane. I'm completely educated. I'm very educated on what I talk about. And I feel like a podcast or a live stream would be essential for others to get access to the knowledge I have, and also for people to question things and share with me and comment. And, you know, um, I love feedback and I love connecting with people on similar interests and similar topics. And yeah, I'm just going to dive right into it. This is my video, Awake Carolina podcast number 1, solo, dolo. And eventually I think I'm going to have featured guests like split screen once I figure out how to do such. And I have a lot of people that have been requesting to do podcasts with me online that are, in different states and, different people. I would love to like contact people like David Icke or Giorgio Tislakos or, you know, um, authors of books I've read, other people that make podcasts, musicians. Really, this is just really a free forum. Nothing specific about what I'm going to discuss. It's going to be weekly events and topics, and could range from cryptids to 9/11 truth to, museums and art and music and biblical theories and scholars to discuss. I want to talk about secret societies, obviously, and talk about things that interest you, the people. So anyone who follows this can always say, hey, I want you to talk about UFOs, or I want you to talk about Project Bluebeam, or I want you to talk about HARP, weather modification, chemtrails, the Council of 13, Rothschilds, Rockefeller, Soros. I know a lot about these things. And I feel like I could be a great aid for people who are just starting to climb down the rabbit hole. Like Neo in the Matrix, he takes the red pill instead of the blue pill and goes further down the rabbit hole, like Alice. And I've taken like 10 red pills. About as far down the rabbit hole as one can possibly get. And I hope you enjoy my podcast. Yeah, it's gonna be dope. All right, my podcast today, my video is about, well, first thing we're gonna discuss is the Getty Museum. In my trip to Los Angeles. I just got back from Los Angeles. My girlfriend got me this cool shirt. It's pretty dope. If you see what I'm wearing right now, this is an orgonite pendant. It blocks EMF and radiation. On the other side, lapis lazuli with a Tesla coil, Nicholas Tesla. If you don't know him, look him up. If you don't know who Wilhelm Reich is, he is the founding researcher on organ energy. And there's a book also about UFOs that discusses how Vril technology and organ energy are used to, fly interstellar. Because we all know the rockets at Cape Canaveral aren't how we get to the moon and shit. Well, you should know that. If you don't, I'm telling you right now, those don't go to the moon. They go up and down. How we get to the moon is basically submarines that fly in space, and we use anti-gravity discs that were discovered by Nazi scientists in the Thule Society long before World War II. And, they had these discs back in Sumerian times. And if you look at Sumerian and Akkadian texts, I mean, if you look into Zechariah Sitchin's books about the Anunnaki, there's been, even the show Ancient Aliens is mainstream, it's pretty obvious that aliens and gods are the same thing. Angels and aliens are the same thing. It's just the unknown and how you perceive it. That's my theory. I'm not saying I'm right or wrong because no one knows. You don't know, I don't know. So to tell me I'm wrong, that'd be hypocritical because you don't know either. No one does. Otherwise, we would know why we're here and what our purpose is. And that's what I'm trying to seek and find out. That's the whole purpose of what I do. And I'm also trying to expose the Luciferian doctrine and those that practice black magic at the expense of children and innocent people and human sacrifice and all that. And one of the top families that does these things with child sacrifice, drinking adrenochrome, which is from the adrenal gland, blood. What happens is during human sacrifice is that a child or innocent victim, they like to use children because they're innocent and they produce more fear when something bad happens to them. So they're traumatized, they're in a state of complete shock and terror, and that makes the adrenal gland produce more. So it makes the drug adrenochrome stronger, and the drug adrenochrome increases vitality. It is known to, in myth, produce immortality, makes people live longer. David Rockefeller, 7 heart transplants, world record, lived till age 104. Come on now. George H.W. Bush was 96 when he died or some shit like that. George Soros, Henry Kissinger. How old are these people? When are they going to die? They need to die. They're terrible people. Lord Rothschild's mystery. I looked his age up. I thought he was dead. Lord Baron Jacob Rothschild, the fourth. Lord Voldemort of real life. You should look him up. But Lord Jacob Rothschild, he apparently is only in his 80s, and I guarantee he's a lot older than that. I think that's a lie by Wikipedia. Wikipedia did lie to me that Jimmy Iovine was Catholic, and then P. Diddy's quoted on the Wikipedia page saying that, Jimmy Iovine's rabbi was amazing at his wedding. Why does he have a rabbi at his wedding? He's Jewish. So they lied about his religion on Wikipedia. And if you notice on Wikipedia, and even Facebook, they don't make you list your religion. They make you list everything else about you. They have everything else about you. But do they ever ask for your religion? No. Interesting. I wonder why that is. It's because it gives away who the bad guys are. It's as simple as that. I'm not anti-Semitic. I like Jewish people to a certain extent. I think a lot of them are brainwashed to Zionist ideals because that's the culture. But I do know a lot of Jewish people that I truly do admire and I'm friends with that denounce Zionism and the Kabbalah. And the Cabal is another term for deep state, Illuminati, whatever you want to call the bad guys, doing nefarious things. The cult, or the occult Sabbatian Frankists, is what they actually are. It's 0.1 to 0.2% of the Jewish population, which makes up 2% of our population in America. 5 to 6 million Ashkenazi Jews live in America. About 2.8 million live in Israel. I think it's 5 to 6 million and 2.8 in Israel. So more live in America than in Israel. And in World War II, a lot of the Holocaust material that you've read or been told or watched on TV is straight up lies. Literally, British troops in Zionists dressed in British uniforms bombed trains headed to Auschwitz, and they died from typhus. They died from typhus, starvation, and they died from disease and There were no gas chambers. The crematorium was to burn dead bodies. It wasn't to like torture. It wasn't to throw them in and burn them alive. That's so over embellished. And I wasn't there. I can't say that everything I know is true, but I do know that the Nuremberg trials, only 10% of the people that were prosecuting were Americans. 60% were Bavarian Jews from Germany, and the Hungarian Jews were the ones persecuted during the Holocaust in my own ancestry, which is Lithuania and Poland. And now they're trying to say that Poland, not as many Polish people died. Bullshit. Go fuck yourselves. Pretty much Jewish brethren killed their lesser brethren. That's just what happened. And Winston Churchill was a devout Zionist. He was the bad guy in World War II, not Hitler. Hitler was a scapegoat. Was he a good guy? I don't know. I don't think any leader's good, really. I think there's duality in life, yin and yang, But to paint him as this evil monster, and to paint Nazis as zombies in Call of Duty and Wolfenstein games where the Nazis are so evil and demented, that's such bullshit. When has America ever been the good guy during a war? Since you've been alive. Afghanistan, crime of the 21st century. Iraq, totally unjustified. We killed over 1 million civilians. Less than 3,000 civilians died on 9/11. Note, 4,000 Israelis didn't show up for work, and there should have been at least 200 to 450 Israelis that died in the attacks. Only 5 died. 2 of them were hijackers of the planes. That's a little fishy. And P-Tech paged these people, and Kroll Associates was the first building hit on 9/11. Nick Kroll, the guy who makes Big Mouth, and he's in the show The League about fantasy football. Bread and circuses, coined term by Caesar, keep the public distracted with gladiator sports, Entertainment Weekly, TMZ, Kobe Bryant, Grammy Awards. It's a bunch of bullshit. Read some books, please. Anyways, I'm going to get into my topic tonight, which is the Getty Museum. And I'll elaborate more on the Holocaust later because I think that's important. I didn't talk about it enough to really get you on board with that. So just scratch that for now. I know a lot more. But that might come out later in the podcast. But for now, we're going to talk about the Getty Rothschild Fellowship, which is when I went to the Getty Museum in 2018, or it was a year ago, so it might have been 2019. There was this exhibit that wasn't there this time called the Art of Three Faiths exhibit. And what the Art of Three Faiths exhibit was some of the original Qurans, Torahs, and Bible and Talmud, original biblical illuminated manuscripts. And the Bible they had, what was the oldest version of the Bible they had at the museum, and the Quran were donated 1900s, 1800s, something like that. The Rothschild family, which is an Illuminati bloodline, they have a net worth of $500 trillion. $1 trillion is $1,000 billion. 500 trillion. That's enough to stop hunger, climate change, which is caused by weather modification, not CO2, and pole shifts and solar activity, and chemtrails. But to think that, which are stratospheric aerosol injections, if you want to be specific, but the Rothschild family donated this Torah, I can't remember if it was the Torah or the Talmud, to the Getty Museum in 2018. Why are they holding on to this? Sure enough, in this book, this ancient Hebrew book, the Rothschild patriarch is mentioned. They are biblical. They are a bloodline descending from Roman emperors to pharaohs. And we'll get more into that. Right now, the people in that family to look out for are Lord Jacob Rothschild. Is he dead? Is he not? I don't know. He's immortal. He's Lord Voldemort. And then you got Nathan Rothschild, who's the front man now. He's the younger one. And then you got one of the youngest people, heirs of the family, who's doing plastic cleanup in the ocean. He has this whole climate change spiel, but he's asking for donations on his website. His website about cleaning up the ocean is asking for donations. They have $500 trillion. What the fuck do they need donations for? Like, that's such, like, as soon as I saw that, I was like, this is such a bullshit scam. Like, they don't need money donated by us. They see us as cattle. They call us goyim, sheep. You know, they see us as lesser than animals if we're not Jewish. Oh, they're a Jewish dynasty banking cartel. They own the Federal Reserve, which is what your dollar bill comes from. That all-seeing eye in the back represents them. And the Federal Reserve was established, I think it was Woodrow Wilson signed it in the 20s, and he regretted it. He gave complete control of America over to these banking cartels, the Federal Reserve, the IMF, which is the International Monetary Fund. And Dominique Strauss-Kahn of the IMF is known to have lavish, crazy parties on some Eyes Wide Shut Stanley Kubrick type shit. If you haven't seen that movie, I recommend checking it out. Stanley Kubrick died 666 days before 2001. 2001's A Space Odyssey was his most known film, and he was killed within 24 hours of showing this film to Warner Brothers Studios. One of his friends heard them arguing in a back room. He didn't want to cut 24 minutes from the film. And in the film, there's a ritual, human sacrifice ritual, and black magic, and orgies and sex, dark sex magic, Aleister Crowley type shit, hooded robes, masks, everything. And it's a real creepy scene. And Tom Cruise was cast, and he's a Scientologist. Stanley Kubrick's daughter was indoctrinated into Scientology. And there's a lot, and Nicole Kidman and Tom Cruise were, you know, wife and husband at the time when they made this film. And what's crazy is Nicole Kidman's father is an Australian pedophile ring elitist. Like, he runs that shit. And stuff you don't find on Google. All right. Maybe if you dig deep enough. Google used to be okay. It's not anymore. It's propaganda. Never trust Snopes. If there's anything I can teach you right now, never trust Google. Never trust Snopes. Even if you scroll 10 pages down in results, they censored everything. Go to DuckDuckGo. DuckDuckGo.com. It's a search engine that doesn't track you. Google tracks 84% to 99% of what you do, your location, what you're searching, and the CIA monitors that shit. And the FBI, who are trafficking children, by the way. Maxwell, G. Maxwell, Ghislaine Maxwell, I forget how to say her name. You know, Epstein's handler, she's missing. They can't find her, just like they can't find the videotapes, according to Mueller's daughter, who's the prosecutor on the Epstein case. Robert Mueller's daughter of the FBI is the prosecutor, and she lost the videos of his strangulation. And the autopsy results showed that it was not a strangulation, it was a murder. And then they said that they couldn't even prove that it was Epstein's body. He was swapped out. His earlobes did not match in his dead photo on the stretcher. His earlobes don't match the rest of his pictures. They did a body swap. It's so obvious. That motherfucker is still alive. Epstein did not kill himself, and neither was he murdered. He is still alive. I guarantee it. I'd say 20% chance he got murdered. 80% chance he's hiding in Israel. Maxwell's was reported to be, there was a fake pictures that got leaked at In-N-Out. They did this whole thing where they staged photos. And then Maxwell, Epstein's pimp, she's the one who brought these girls to Epstein in private helicopters. She also had a submarine license. She used a submarine to traffic children to Pedo Island, where there was a temple with an elevator shaft down, and there were security cameras in each room. Q leaked this, and there's 16 different cameras, and they were all of different kids trapped in this dark dungeon down an elevator shaft. They were underground doing this shit. And then there's all these underground bases. They're called dumps, DUMBS, and deep underground military bases or whatever. And there's one at Dulce, New Mexico. There's one under Kirkland Air Force Base that's like a 100-acre facility. Emery Smith discloses this in Cosmic Disclosure with David Wilcock. It's on Gaia. You can check it out. A free episode actually on YouTube is the one I'm speaking about. Emery Smith did autopsies on different bioorganic material, different alien species, but I'll save that for a different time. Anyways, we're going to go into the Getty Rothschild Fellowship. So I was in Los Angeles, California. I went to the Getty Museum, which is the Getty Center, where apparently 100,000 kids are trapped underground being held as sex slaves, according to an ex-CIA officer who's whistleblown this. He's come out to the public and disclosed that Comet Ping Pong, the Pizzagate, which is real. I mean, after Epstein and Weinstein and Kevin Spacey and all this shit, if you don't believe in Pizzagate, you're loony. You're absolutely stuck in your you're just demoralized, and you have no sense of how to establish what reality is. You're in complete denial. Like, if you don't think Pizzagate is a real thing, like, I can understand not believing certain people are involved in Pizzagate that you may like, or like celebrities and stuff, but to say that it doesn't exist is really, really bad, because it allows them to get away with it, but it also, the kids that are being hurt, you're just saying, oh, this doesn't exist. And there's people coming out saying, MK Ultra experiments back with the CIA ties into that. There's been these underground pedophile rings for decades. This goes back to biblical times, human sacrifice, and like people denouncing it and saying it doesn't exist and it's too crazy or it could never happen. Satanic ritual abuse doesn't exist. Go to SRA statistics on DuckDuckGo. Don't use Google. It'll say, when I used Google to search SRA, it said, oh, it's a paranoid delusion. No, it's not. There's plenty of people that have come out, victims, who have said they've been abused. I've seen it with my own two eyes at Sanctum, which is SNCTM. Wait, SNCTM, yeah. And Nexium, which is one of those unsealed documents that got released with the sex cult with the people in Smallville. They all got busted. There's a lot of these cults out there, and there's a calendar. They have an occult calendar. Kobe Bryant died during the grand climax of the occult calendar, which is a fire sacrifice on January 26th every single year. February 2nd is Candlemas, another prime day. And then the summer solstice, go watch the movie Midsommar, to get a taste of what I've seen and what reality is, and go watch Eyes Wide Shut as well by Stanley Kubrick. I'd recommend that. It's far from fiction. Pizzagate is real. If you don't believe Pizzagate is real, fuck off. Seriously. I have no respect for you. Anyways, I hope you can come over to the other side and see that these things are true. Because human trafficking is the #1 crime syndicate in America at the moment. And to say it doesn't exist is allowing it to happen. It's like walking past a rape. That's what it is. You saying, oh, Pizzagate doesn't exist, it's unfathomable. That's the same thing as you walking past a girl getting raped and doing nothing. It's the same shit. You're a bystander. So fuck off. Anyways, that's how I feel about people that say Pizzagate's a fucking conspiracy theory. And do you know what a conspiracy theory is? After JFK got assassinated, the CIA created this terminology called conspiracy theorist, which was to discredit people that critically think outside of what the government is telling them. And now it's used as a derogatory term. It's bullshit. Conspiracy theorists are smart. They look into shit. Call me a conspiracy theorist. Cool. Call me anti-Semitic. Cool. I'm not anti-Semitic. Palestinians are Semites, dumbass. And the people that are in Israel calling themselves Jewish aren't Semitic. Hint, hint. You don't know shit. So yeah, that's reality. Okay. Getty Rothschild Fellowship. So I went to the Getty Museum, the Art of Three Faiths exhibit, and the Rothschilds donated this Talmudic scripture of the Kabbalah or this ancient Torah. I can't remember which, probably the Talmud. And in 2016, the Getty and the Rothschild Foundation announced the creation of the Getty Rothschild Fellowship, which supports innovative scholarship in the history of art. This is coming from the getty.edu/foundation initiatives on .com. They supported an innovative scholarship program in the history of art collecting and conservation, using the collections and resources of both institutions. The fellowship offers art historians, museum professionals, and conservators the opportunity to research and study at both the Getty in Los Angeles and Waddesdon Manor in Buckinghamshire, England. Oh, you know some shit's going on there. England is pedo central. Look up Jimmy Savile and Prince Charles plays and Prince Andrew tied to Epstein. And Buckingham Palace is they straight up murder indigenous children. Queen Elizabeth is a goddamn lizard. Fuck that bitch. All right. Anyways, if you think she's a sweet old lady, go research a little more, please. You're making it harder for the rest of us that are trying to uncover this shit and trying to save these kids. So do us all a favor and shut your fucking mouth. Seriously though, like if you think Queen Elizabeth and Prince Charles, look at their pictures. Look at the Pope. If you think the Vatican is holy, look at Pope Benedict. He's got blood foaming from his mouth in half of his pictures. He looks like Emperor Palpatine or Sauron from Lord of the Rings. Get a grip. Okay. Anyways, the fellowship offers art historians, museum professionals, or conservators the opportunity, that word got me, the opportunity to research and study both the Getty in Los Angeles and this manor in Buckinghamshire, England. We'll look into Buckinghamshire in a second. I bet you there's some shit going down. The fellowship is invitation only. Secret society. And administered by the Getty Foundation. Now, John Paul Getty, we'll get into his family in a second. Very mysterious deaths and very weird stuff with his family. Very rich. The inaugural fellow was Dr. David Saunders, a foremost expert in the area of conservation science who worked on the museum and gallery lighting during this fellowship. The second fellow for 2017-18 was Dr. Thomas Campbell, the 9th director of the Museum of Metropolitan Art, which has been open, or he has been in that position since from 2009 to 2017, it says. His research focuses on the changing environment in which museums are operating and the ways decorative arts and refugee art and culture of the Reformation of the 18th century, some shit like that. The fourth fellow for 2019-20 is Dr. Pascal Bertrand, a preeminent scholar of the history of tapestry, whose fellowship will focus on a digital project related to the 18th century pay registers of the Beauvais tapestry manufactory. So we'll have to look into all those names for sure. Getty Scholar Grants are established for scholars, artists, writers who have attained distinction in their fields. Projects connect to the Getty Research Institute's annual theme. So you have the Getty Center Museum. And it's a huge, you ride a tram to get up there, and it's a huge compound. I mean, and there's definitely layers underground. There's a shaft. I walked past the shaft. I got a photograph. There's a little statue of a head, and there's a caution tape that says "Don't cross this." And then down that's just an empty elevator shaft. Sketch as fuck. And then there's this weird cardinal on the rooftop that it just doesn't. It's not normal. I mean, you look at it and you get vibes. You get negative aura, negative energy for sure. I can pick up on auras. I can walk into a room of people these days. Like, I don't know. It's been since I had my first contact with God, or cosmic consciousness, or whatever you want to call it, universal consciousness, your inner self, your higher power. I believe in God. That's what I call God. I don't call him Yahweh. I call him God. And I spoke with God, and ever since then, I've been able to read auras. I can drive past a church, and it either shines blue or red, debating on whether it's good or evil. And I can walk into a room full of people, and I can tell who has black or brown auras, which sometimes means they're grounded. It's not necessarily evil, but if you sense like a emptiness or a void in somebody, or you get gut feelings, whenever you get a gut feeling that something's off, get the fuck out of there. Gut feelings are your second brain, and that's God talking to you. My mother told me that when I was young. It's true. The Rothschild Foundation and Watson Manor are delighted to be collaborating with the Getty on this fellowship, which will nurture high-level scholarships on subjects which are close to hearts of both institutions, whether in the fields of art and art history, collecting, conservation, or the application of new technologies to the museum and heritage worlds. I am particularly pleased that our first fellow will be David Saunders, whose work is of the greatest possible relevance to Watson, as a historic house seeking to present itself in innovative ways, says Lord Rothschild. That must be Jacob. OMGBE. Okay, I found out about Watson Manor, or Watson Manor. Watson Manor was built by Baron Ferdinand de Rothschild from 1874 to display his outstanding art collection and to entertain the fashionable world. It combines the highest quality 18th century French decorative arts, magnificent English portraits, and Dutch old master paintings with one of the finest Victorian gardens in Britain, famous for its parterre and ornate working aviary as a bird place. Cool. Like Jurassic Park. Pterodactyls, dude. Bequeathed to the National Trust in 1957, Wadison is managed by the Rothschild Foundation on behalf of the National Trust. The Rothschild Foundation is a UK charity, just like Soros is charity, and Hillary Clinton is charity, and Bill Gates is charity. More like fucking terrorists. That's what I call them. Because it's fucking true. Charity is another way to opt out of taxes. That's why they do it. They're fucking evil. In addition to its ongoing commitment to Watson Manor, it undertakes major projects and provides financial and other support across a range of interests, in particular arts and heritage. That's so broad. Did that answer anything? In addition to its ongoing commitment to this manor, the Rothschild Foundation undertakes major projects. What are those major projects? And provides financial and other support. What support? Across a range of interests. What interests? In particular, arts and heritage. Heritage of what? Flint House, awarded RIBA House of the Year Award 2015. The Flint House on the Watson Estate is a stepped linear monolith that seems pulled from the landscape as a geological extrusion of infinite age. Okay. The flint-faced walls fade in 6 colored strata from black through shades of gray. Those are the 2 auras to stay away from, appearing to dissolve in the sky. Created by the architect Charlotte Skene Catling of Skene Catling de la Pena Architects. As a contemporary house, the interiors were designed by David Mlinarnik. Interesting. Very interesting. Ooh, I'm gonna call up the Getty. I got their number right here. Their Getty Communications number. You know, I'm gonna give them a call and give them some shit once I research all this. When I walked into the Getty a year ago, I didn't do it this time. But when I walked, there was definitely people following me in the bookstore though this time, because I went off about this cardinal statue when we were up top on the rooftop. I was like, "Welcome to Illuminati headquarters," and I was like shouting at the top of my lungs, and I was like, I was just like saying the most like blatant, very, very assertive stuff about the Rothschild family and the Getty as a whole. And then I was like, "Where are the children underground?" I was like saying this out loud, and people were looking at me and shit, and I was like laughing about it. The best thing to do, the best defense when you have people following you or trying to get to you, or you're gang stalked or whatever, the best thing to do is laugh about it. Laugh in their face. Call them out right where they are. Be like, "I see you, Zionist CIA bitch." Like that's what you got to do. Because then if they take you down, everyone knows like, "Oh shit, like that kid or Derek." See, like I've spoken so much out to the public that if something happened to me, people would know that why, you know? It's important to be vocal, because when you're vocal about these things, you know, when something happens to you, it points back to them. Whereas if I was to keep silent about what I knew, you know, it'd be very easy to, you know, just like, "Oh, he's just another guy, you know, hit him with a drug overdose, heart attack, gun, whatever," you know. But I have such a following at this point. Like I have a cult following on Facebook. That's why they keep banning me. This is my 11th time banned. It's another 30-day censorship, because I connected the Jewish mafia, Khazarian mafia, to the African slave trade in Middle Passage. I posted an article about it. And they banned me again. Like, it's unbelievable. Can't say anything about Jewish criminals. You know, it's not that every Jewish person's a criminal, but if you talk about anyone who's Jewish who's done anything wrong, which is a lot of people, the major players, they will cut you. They will tear it down. They will take your post down. They will label you. You know, when I first started coming out with all this stuff, people were calling me anti-Semitic and Nazi. I'm exposing the Nazis. George Soros was a fucking Nazi. Like, get it straight. The Jewish people orchestrated the Holocaust. Get it fucking straight. Like, everything you learned in school is wrong. Like, everything is misinformation, purposely put there by the draconian reptilians. As said by a ex-Navy officer who was murdered in his nursing home. He was 90 something years old. He's talking about Draco reptilians in Above Majestic documentary by David Wilcock. Go check that shit out. Real shit. Annapolis ain't playing around. My brother was coaching, or like, you know, like a lacrosse camp there. He was like one of the counselors. He was a counselor at this lacrosse camp at Navy, which is in Annapolis. He was driving in one night. They have to drive through a gate because it's private and shit. And like 8 cop cars immediately surrounded my brother. They drew guns on him. He's just chilling in the car. He called my parents. He called the coach of the school or whatever, and was like, "What do I do?" And they're just like, "Whatever you do, don't get out of the car." But you know, my brother stumbled into the wrong parking lot where they're doing my labs, which is where they take children from dysfunctional homes when they're young that are either advanced empaths or they have some special gift. They're very math oriented. They have special, unique telekinesis gifts, all sorts of stuff. They need things for different people. But they take kids as young as 6, 7, 8, and they implant memories into these kids that they're like, "Oh, I went to a museum." When they go home to their parents, And all they remember doing is going to a museum to see dinosaurs or whatever. In reality, they're going to an underground military base. This is explained by Corey Good in detail. And I recommend checking out Dr. Michael Sala's books. He is a PhD on Antarctica and how the RAND Corporation, Siemens Corporation, Raytheon Corporation, and primarily the ex-IG Farben people are holding RFID chipped sex slaves and labor slaves, children primarily, underground. And this is established from the Nazi regime. The Nazi regime moved to Antarctica in 1938, 1939. So when the Nazis were doing this whole concentration camp thing, Hitler wasn't even fucking there. He was already in Argentina. Like, everything you learned about World War II is a fucking lie. It's a fucking lie. The Allies, the USA, our president allowed Pearl Harbor to happen. It was just like 9/11. It was an inside job. They knew the Japanese were coming. They just let it fucking happen. They let people die. So we would get into the war so we could help them establish the UN and obtain Palestine. The final solution by Hitler was to move all of these Jewish people to Madagascar because the Jewish people threatened Germany with sanctions and threatened Germans that they were going to starve them to death. What the fuck would you do in that situation? Would you say, oh, let's not detain these people? Imagine if every person in our country who's Asian all of a sudden betrayed us. Literally in World War I, the US wouldn't have even been involved in the war. Germany was winning the war. And what happened was England bribed our president, said they pretty much bribed us into war. And what happened was it was 116 Bavarian Jews. Bavaria's in Germany. So people of Germany betrayed their own fucking country, established relations with England and the United States, and the Balfour Declaration was signed in 1917. Lord Rothschild was present, or his family, and they obtained Israel, but they never had it yet. They obtained the deed for Palestine from England, who had no rights to Palestine, in 1917. In 1917, England said to these 116 Bavarian Jews from Germany that, yes, your people we will give you Palestine. They had no right to Palestine. England did not own Palestine. But they promised them that. Then World War II comes about, and they finished the job. Guess who was detained during World War II? And it was labor camps, not concentration camps. It wasn't extermination camps. The final solution, it's in the documents. In Hitler's documents, and Heinrich Himmler is the one who was in charge of the camps, not fucking Hitler. Get it straight, okay? And like Heinrich Himmler, in his documents, it says the final solution was to move the Jews to Madagascar as a homeland for them because they weren't assimilating to German society and they were threatening them. Just like they threaten our democracy right now. They run our Congress. They run Big Pharma. They run the United States. This is the Zionist states of America. Literally, George Soros rigged the Iowa caucus. He's Jewish. He's a Zionist. All these charitable foundations are not charities. The vaccines they're giving kids are fucking poison. The vaccine for the SARS that was in China, the people all getting sick from the coronavirus right now are the people that got the vaccines. So they released a pathogen, a biological weapon out of Wuhan's virus lab or whatever. Harvard scientists are involved. Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation is directly involved in this. It's a depopulation eugenicist plot to create a new world order. Bill Gates is a fucking terrorist. He bought out Monsanto. Now it's Bayer Crops. Okay? IG Farben. That was a Nazi corporation that made up Bayer, Monsanto, the same people that sprayed Agent Orange all over Vietnam and created deformed babies. Those are the same people spraying the chemtrails above you. Does that not concern you? At all. At all. Why do you think the mental health epidemic is so out of control right now? If you go to Los Angeles, California, you walk 5 minutes down Santa Monica Boulevard or Venice Boardwalk, you pass 45 people talking to themselves with no help, with no Medicare, because Trump's cutting all that shit out. They're completely leaving these people to die and be sick. And you know what's making them sick? Aluminum toxicity, which is what is sprayed from the chemtrails. Aluminum, barium, lithium, nanotechnology. And then this nanotechnology is archons, which is a biblical term from Gnosticism. And it's also an alien term as well, if people follow ET phenomena. And pretty much what archons are little parasites, little nanofibers, little interdimensional spider bugs. That's why people itch. Whenever you feel an itch on your skin, you're like, oh, what? It feels like a bug's on me, but there's not a bug on you? It's a fucking archon. They're interdimensional spiders. You can't see them. They're spraying that shit on you. If you wash your mouth out with cranberry juice, B.O.B. did it in a video. You can go check out B.O.B.'s freaking video. Rappers are exposed to this shit. I'm a rapper. I'm exposed to this shit. You know, it's not hard. It's not hard to grasp. You just have to open your mind and not question it. The moment you say, oh, that can't be real, or but it's been debunked. Nothing's ever been debunked. Everything is theory. Quote from Socrates, the intelligent man admits he knows nothing. That's a Greek philosopher who is known for his historical books, literature, poems, his philosophies. And you tell me that, oh, Socrates, oh, don't fuck him, you know? Like, no. The intelligent man admits he knows nothing. Once you admit you know nothing, you question everything. And then we're in a day and age where you can prove X, Y, and Z, or you can prove ABC with the amount of information out there. But there's misinformation. That's the ABC or the X, Y, and Z. Now, for me, I know how to sort through that. Most people don't. It's because I've experienced depression, I've experienced hardship, I've experienced the occult, I've experienced drug addiction, I've experienced their agenda, which is to kill us. The heroin I was injecting in myself 5 years ago, and 14% of the population of Wilmington is addicted to opiates. That is a huge number. It wasn't me, it was the environment. I made a poor decision, but it wasn't me. If I was in a different environment, it never would have happened. Environment is everything. Why do you think people in the ghetto go towards drugs and crime? Because it's around them. Who put that there? The CIA. Put crack in the ghetto. It's a rigged system. America's so faulty. It's not a democracy, it's an oligarchy of secret societies and special interest owners and Zionists that run everything. It's a corporate neo-feudalist state. All right, I found something interesting. I'm still looking for the donors to the Getty Museum. Can't find it even on DuckDuckGo. It's ridiculous. They're trying to hide that shit. They don't want you to know who gives $6.6 billion to the museum. If not more than that. But I found something very interesting. There's a Getty Owl Foundation. Now, if we look at secret societies in biblical scripture, we know Moloch, M-O-L-O-C-H, is an owl deity worshipped at Bohemian Grove, where elitists go every year in San Francisco. They have the cremation of care at Bohemian Grove, and the people that go there are CIA, Knights of Malta, Templars, Freemasons, Skull and Bones, very high up people. Reagan and Nixon both went there before they were elected. They were selected. There's pictures of human sacrifices going down there. They have necrophilia rooms underground, child sex operations going on underground, and their basement is in their underground sector of the 2,700 acre facility or outdoor landscape. Consists of a bunch of different campgrounds. And the campground names are like the Lost Angels, and then there's the Mandalay Camp, named after the Mandalay Hotel where the shooting happened. Coincidence? No. But the Getty Owl Foundation supports charitable causes. And it's located at 5716 Folsom Boulevard, number 193, Sacramento, California. Getty Owl Foundation. Interesting.